a simple proposition, so it's just a basic condition event net.
And then the firing of the transition is not affected, because the transition fires only if the P1 place has a dot in it, which means true. Which means whatever you have written there, it's true. I don't care what you wrote there. Here you could have two slides, one with the Petri nets, only P1, T1, T2, and an explanation chart saying that P1 means not me being ready to eat an ice cream, but this formula being true. It's the same Petri net. Because the firing rule is not affected.
The firing rule is fine.
The firing rule
The firing rule is fine. See, actually, what I'm seeing here is basically, in some sense, look at it. When you talk about logic basically doesn't have any logic. It doesn't have a behavior model, what is true or not. And a temp logic, of course, is different. They look at the idea of the next state.
But these formulas are not temporal.
Right, this is not temporal, but
So he's trying to get the temporality from the temporal.
That's right. You try to order these logic formulas in some way. This is the first, second, the third, So is that's
So in
what
some
I see.
sense, I mean, this Petri net actually is simply a state transition diagram.
Right, yeah.
And so what he's modeling here is the different things that are true in different states. That's simple modal logic. All it's doing is saying this is true in this state, this is true in this state, this is true in this state.
Yeah, I can understand this. Basically, the order is fine. Yeah.
And as Anastasia said, these could be simple text narratives.
Right.
I mean, it happens to be that he's using a logic, but they could be.
Right.
Mary had a little lamb or something like that.
That's fine. That's exactly my question. Why it's called Deontic Deontic Petri nets. That's what that's the question. Yes,
we should say,
that's an issue.
Suppose I'll suggest alternative terminology.
Right.
It's condition event nets interpreted deontically with deontic notations.
That
Yeah? I mean, it's basic condition event nets with deontic interpretations.
Right.
Okay, so those are not essential part of the meta definition, right? Yeah,
Correct.
so, okay,
So
that's fine.
you
That's
get yourself
basically-
into trouble by claiming it's a new kind of
No,
Don't go there.
yeah, because I
Say,
thought you need to map
We're
these.
using a standard
place
off-the-shelf
to-
Petri
Right,
net,
right.
Okay,
and we're
yeah, that's
interpreting
fine,
it this
yeah.
way.
Exactly.
By the way, the
That's
first
just a guessing.
condition event nets,
Right.
Petri wrote it in a recent article
Mhm.
this year, were chemical nets, where he modeled, he had the same idea, the nets different, modeling chemical reactions.
Oh,
So-
yeah, you can use it to model anything. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you need to attach these formula as part of the, notation, then it's not.
Yeah, but in the
Right.
chemical one, you would have natrium, oxygen, and that.
What have they done with that?
and this
And
is
then
the
they
proper
combine to
example.
form
Chemical
different
net.
kinds of.
Yeah.
Chemical net.
So it's the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
So see, maybe he make the same mistake.
No, that's why
So it's a
it's
chemical net.
that's why it's called Deontic net. Don't call it Petri net.
Okay, Deontic net. So
Or
Deontic
net.
interpretation net or something
Yeah,
like
but see, the formula involves evaluation. That's
You- If you use terms that seem to claim too much, it gets you into trouble.
Right, yeah. If
Stay
you
away.
combine, combine
Right, this is an
things,
interpreted.
yeah.
This is an interpreted Petri net.
Yeah.
Interpreted condition event net.
That's exactly, I guess that will get you into next trouble. Not next trouble. Next question.
Now is
relate-
his next question about the interpretation.
No. Now, when you talk about these transactions, right, it makes sense to have time. For example, up to this month,
okay.
and this will be honored after this month. So forget about that. I'm not going to ask for. So that's what I'm saying. When you say this net, then it seems to be you have to have a time concept in it, right?
In particular for deadlines.
Well, not necessarily deadlines. Yeah, deadline. Yeah.
Contracts have deadlines all over the
Yeah,
place.
basically, yeah. That's,
You know,
you can't
the,
say.
the scope
Yeah,
of an obligation.
Yeah, for
is
example,
different.
if you seller whatever time the buyer, you need to
You
pay.
have to pay by
right,
such
yeah,
and
if
such
you
a time.
don't do that. So if you claim, I guess if you don't claim that, I guess I probably don't ask this. Because when you say Deontic net, I'm saying, do you have to consider time if you want to model the process?
Right. Actually,
Yeah.
here I consider time in the sense of a sequence of activity rather than absolute time.
But if it's not absolute time, then it's not very useful. It's
No,
you
but
can
just
use
say order.
You
If
can
one-
do by an event.
I agree with this, that obligations, you know, if I'm obligated to pay you $100 sometime,
Yes.
I mean, that's essentially an empty obligation, because I could, you know, there's no,
Right.
no way I will ever violate it. you know.
Yes. Yeah.
It only makes sense if I put a deadline on it. Obligations entail deadlines.
Yes. Right.
And the point I think that both of these people are going to be raising is that timed Petri nets,
Right.
timed Petri nets lose some of the formal verification properties. So implicitly, you do have a timed Petri net. However, you said early on that your usage of the Petri net is not for the formal properties of the Petri net. I mean, you're not really testing safeness and liveness
No.
and those
No.
kind
I
of
don't.
things.
I don't, yeah.
You're using it for its graphics and for simulation.
Right. Right.
And you should make that clear.
Yeah.
That because you're going to have times, absolute times in here, you're not going to be able to trace certain of the formal Petri net properties.
Yeah, let me revisit here. The main thing I use Petri nets here is for graphical representation and simulation. More specifically, the analysis is by on logic. It's by on temporal logic.
That's fine, whether you use picture nets or time picture net, but I'm saying the Deontic process itself involves time. Can you capture it right now?
The time right now
If
Model.
you say